Let's freaking go! So yeah, after nearly waiting for who knows how long we've been waiting for this, we finally have our very confirmation for Biomutant, an actual official release. Finally, after this whole time I was actually starting to wonder when we were going to see Biomutant. Now of course there has been some news that's been going out in regards to Biomutant, and so before the official Twitter announcement for Biomutant actual release finally began, there was some news speculating that there was actually a shareholder meeting in regards to Nordic THQ. Or THQ Nordic. I had that backwards for some reason. And so according to the news article of THQ themselves, basically they were stating that within the first quarter of their new financial year, they would be releasing some of their most long-awaited titles within their branch. And one of them happened to have been Biomutant. When I first heard about this particular news information, I was skeptical about it. I was like, okay, the developers themselves basically said that they will release it whenever they feel comfortable with it. And I was like, in all honesty, even though THQ themselves state that Biomutant will be released, that does not necessarily mean that it will be released. It's going to be within Experiment 101's hands, which record, yes, they are owned by Nordic THQ Nordic. Why do I keep doing that? THQ Nordic. But at that same time frame, you know, they also demand whether or not it gets released or not. But as of like a couple of weeks ago, we actually had our actual information given to us by not only the Biomutant Twitter page, but also to THQ Nordic, as well as Experiment 101, stating on their Twitter page that Biomutant official release is in May 25th of 2021. Yes, finally, after all this time, we finally have Biomutant finally having an actual release, and hopefully won't be too long before the game will actually see a release. However, though, I'm a little bit skeptical. Personally, I think, in my personal opinion alone, I would not doubt in my mind if Biomutant actually saw a delay. Instead of it being in May, it might be in June or July. I would not doubt it in my mind that it might get delayed. Not to say that they wouldn't delay it, but there is that possible chance, you know. A game like this, Biomutant, that has been pushed back, and record, yes, they never really stated an actual release date per se. It was mostly shareholders as well as different retail stores that kept putting on dates, even though they themselves did not know. So it's one of those things where it's like, even though there was potential ideals, the reality is that sometimes you find bugs, and sometimes you find glitches, and sometimes you find problems. So really, I do think we might get a delay, but if so, it'd probably be like about a month at most, probably. But if they don't have a delay and they actually do confirm that it is golden, meaning that it is finally finished and it will be put into production lines, then yeah, then it would be official. We would just be having to wait until it officially comes out, which May 25th. Mark it on your calendar, guys. Although I know for a fact that I'm not the only one who has done this. There are multiple people like myself who have actually had pre-orders of Biomutant actually saved up since like 2 or 3 years back. In fact, I'm one of those very few people who've actually pre-ordered this like 3 years ago. So yeah, as of right now, it is within the Amazon's order, stating that as soon as the pre-order gets released, I will have it delivered to my house. The only question is, how much longer of a wait do I have to wait before it officially ships? And hopefully, when they do ship the collector's edition, will it all be there? You know, the statue figure itself, among other things. But then you've also have the Omega Deluxe Edition, Collector's Edition, Deluxe Collector's Edition, however you want to word it, where it has that big diorama statue thing, which is insane when you think about it. But not as insane as the price. The price itself basically states that, you know, you can either choose to purchase this thing or a PS5. Wait, PS5s are nowhere to be found these days. So never mind, you can go ahead and waste whatever money you were going to save for the PS5 and just go for this instead, because who knows when we're going to get our hands on a PS5. But yeah, needless to say, Biomutant finally getting its release. But I do want to go ahead and stress something out for those who might have been either overly hyped about this game or who might be a little bit skeptical about it. And let me just say the phrase here. hold your hypeness and hold your expectations to a certain level, because one thing I've learned over the few years is that if you've had your anticipation level too high, the game's value is going to hurt dramatically once you finally experience it. It was the same way for multiple games. You know, you have Final Fantasy 15, which was this long-awaited development. Then, of course, Cyberpunk 2077 had witnessed this same effect as well. Keep in mind, you know, these were coming from the same developers who did The Witcher 3, but at the same time, this was so overly hyped. Not only that, but the anticipation for the quality that was supposed to be presented in that game also follows suit in this game as well. And so keep this in mind too, that Biomutant also has several problems as well during its development. If it wasn't for a number of factors, it probably would have saw a release date much sooner than expected. You know, never mind the fact of the development time, whatever glitches or problems they have run across. You also have the fact too that technically, and I did a video of this prior to this technically some time back, but I also mentioned of how technically they were moving their entire studio to a different building. And sometimes that can take weeks and probably a full month or two, depending on how the process takes. So you gotta think about it. They took their entire development studio and moved it to another building. So that took some time. Next to that, you also have the fact that there was COVID-19 we've had to go through. You know, in most countries, they've had it before the United States, and then ultimately, by the time the United States finally got it, the entire world was practically in shutdown, followed by the United States followed suit afterwards for about a month. You get what I'm saying? Shit happens. Secondly of all, I do want to go ahead and stress the fact that even though, yes, this is an open world game, it may not be as great or as amazing as games like Breath of the Wild, The Witcher 3, or most recently, Ghost of Tsushima. There is a chance that Biomutant may not be as overly anticipatedly hyped or as amazing as those three games are. Biomutant, I suspect to be a fun gameplay experience. You have the fact that technically, depending on the customizations of the main character, could depend on the stats that you're going to be having. You know, the character itself will have a large mind, meaning large intellect. The character itself could be large and bulky, meaning that it's more in strength. The character could be small and meeker, meaning that it would be faster. There could be a number of things in terms of the customization, thus affecting its stats. And then of course next to that, you also have the wide range of different weapons, followed by kung fu stands, followed by different techniques that you can use throughout the entire game. So I mean, there's a number of stuff there that gives it a large volume in terms of a AAA title. But at the same time, it could or could not be as amazing as some people may overly hype this. Personally for me, I'm overly excited about this because I like the ideal concept that they have for this game. You know, you have the fact that you have this fuzzy little creature, don't even know what his species called, but it's a creature nonetheless. And basically it's been enhanced by some bionetic chemistry that's been going on, and not only is he able to use that in order to change things and everything like that, he also has a large arsenal of weapons, being that of either swords, knives, shields, a giant bubble, guns, a giant robot, a freaking airship. I mean, the endless possibilities is pretty overwhelming, but it looks so well done. Admittedly though, their latest trailer that they did release was a little bit more contrast when it comes to its previous trailers. If you saw the trailer for Biomutant before that, you know that it was definitely a very realism look. Then its most recent trailer, the contrast was a little bit brighter in color. Not to say that that was a bad thing, but it definitely looks like there was a shift in terms of how graphically the game should look. Both in terms of how the color contrast should be, followed by how the atmosphere should relate to that. But regardless of that, I'm definitely excited for Biomutant's official release, being that of May 25th. Dadgummit, it's about time we finally got somewhere with this, and I know there's a lot of you out there who is equally excited as I am, so needless to say, this is it! We finally got the release date for Biomutant, and it's on its way out, finally. So thank you so much for watching, see you in the next video. Catch you guys later.